issues, so that these issues will be the focus of the debates and conversations around the time leading to the elections and even beyond, so that these issues will be the main focus and nothing else, so that we are not distracted, because we have heard the voice of the people.
Absolutely.
And it's clear from the report the things that continue to bother people, because the top issues that we find in this report as being most important to Ghanaians have been the top issues for a long time.
Okay.
People are still worried about the elements, aspects of healthcare, education, unemployment. People are still worried about infrastructure and roads. And these things, over the years have always been amongst, the top concerns that people have. So the whole point of this report in an election year is to bring some data to the conversation, bring some concrete opinions and points of view to the conversation, so that if we want to have an election-related conversation, these are the things you'll be talking about, not other things. You understand? Because it's very easy to get distracted.
Absolutely.
For instance, if you look at what's happening in Parliament, it's very easy to get distracted.
From the main
What
subject
the
matter.
people really want is for you to be finding or telling them ways in which you will do these things better. They want to find out, and the thing about this report is that when we talk about the key issues that people want addressed, we don't just leave it at that. There's a disaggregation. So, for instance, when you say health, we've asked them, what exactly in health?
Okay. I want us to come into details later, but one of the highlights of this report is the fact that a lot of Ghanaians, if I dare say that, are willing to engage in electoral-related violence. Run me through that.
Yes, and like I said, it's very disturbing. Many Ghanaians have stated that they are willing to
Is there
participate.
any percentage attached to that?
Yes, I'm trying to find the page. I don't have it right now. But it is, the thing about violence is that it doesn't take a lot of people to make it a problem.
Right.
Even if it's only one person who has made a commitment to undertake violent activities or be disruptive during the election, or go and scatter a polling station or snatch it, it has great implications for the safety and well-being of those around, for the safety and well-being of the person themselves, and for the integrity of the elections. So, I mean, even if it's just a handful of people, it's something we should really worry about.
Absolutely.
We should, in eliminating that, we need to build enough trust in the system so people don't feel that they have to take matters into their own hands. And so, to that end, we are continuously educating people. If you want information, go to the right places. If you want to see how the election will be run, go to the site of the Electoral Commission, for instance. Don't just listen to rumors and make a decision based on that. It's good to hear what others are saying, but at least also make an effort to find out, make an informed decision, verify the things you hear, ask around, see if other people that you trust are saying the same thing, see if the platforms that you are reliable, for instance, GH1 Star FM, this wild thing that you've heard, have they reported it yet? Let's find a way to cross-check these things before we jump to conclusions based on rumors. You understand? And that is one way of dialing down the tensions so that people can have confidence in the system and know that when you cast your ballot, it actually counts for something. If you go and vote and you go back home, you can come back to observe the counting. When you come back to observe the counting, stand where they ask you to stand. If nobody has appointed you as a polling agent, please don't appoint yourself. Every party will have polling agents at every polling station.
Absolutely.
There are other observers. If you notice something, find somebody to tell. There's police, there's independent observers, there's NCC observers, there's CODE observers. Tell somebody. Don't suddenly become enraged and rush in there, aggressive, and try and solve a problem. You won't solve any problem, and you will be arrested.
This, for me, is really wild because, we all know that the stakes for these elections are pretty high. Both parties are not joking. But why would people want to willingly be involved in electoral-related violence?
Look, there's never an election where the stakes are not high. There's never an election where some party is joking.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work that way. The stakes are always high. And that's one reason why I tell people that, it sounds ominous, right? It sounds like something, but most likely we will go through. Because there's never an election where the stakes are. Please, somebody point me one election where the stakes were not high, where the parties didn't have IRED. You understand? It's always like that. It's just that, there's an extra flavor this year. We all admit that,
Absolutely.
right? There's another layer of anxiety this year that we're all feeling. But let's not keep pushing that narrative. Oh, something is going to happen. This one is worse than every. No. Let's all just do the right thing.
It can become one of the peaceful elections.
You never know, because there's so much focus on there's so much focus on violence. Maybe people will be extra careful. Maybe because there's so much talk about violence, people will understand the messages that we are sending, that dial it down. Nobody needs to lose their life. If you lose your life and your party wins, you're gone. They are jubilating. If you lose your limb and they win, they're on two legs, you're on one. And there is zero benefit to zero, really. It does not add one. And the election is about adding votes. If you think about the fact that, being violent or being aggressive or insulting people does not add one single vote, then it tells you what an exercise in futility it is.
It is, right.
So I tell people, tell your your political seniors who come and ask you, resource you to go and undertake these activities, you're willing to campaign. They should give you the resources to go door-to-door canvassing, because that is okay, that is legal. As a citizen, it is within your rights to participate in political activity. You're well within your rights. And tell them that you will do that happily. You are more likely to get a vote from canvassing, from door to door, from trying to convince somebody, than going out there and attacking people aggressively. So they should also engage the people who try to take them to go and do these activities in the same way. So at the end of the day, boss, it is votes we want. If it's votes we want, let me go talk to the people.
Okay.
During
your research, did you identify new hotspots for this election? I mean, apart from the ones that we already know.
So there are hotspots that have always been hotspots, but every election year there are more.
Are there new hotspots now?
Yeah, but I don't want to go into that right now. Not on air, no.
Okay.
Yeah, because the thing about hotspots is that what we would do is to focus more attention on it. Okay. Not just us, but all the other actors in the...
And you like to do it off air?
Yes, it's better. Okay. Simply because you don't want to now, excite people and all of that.
Absolutely.
Imagine one day I wake up and say your neighborhood is a hotspot. It may not be. Let's do something about it. Let's get the security people involved. Let's get us doing more intensive education. Let's get leaders in that community to become more active, encouraging people and all of that. Let's try and solve existing problems. Let's do arbitration. Let's work in that community to solve that problem. I think is more effective.
Okay. Let's talk about vote buying now. There was an interesting, I had to read a portion of the report, and there was an interesting regional breakdown of vote buying. Kindly run me through that since
What did you find? Because I don't have all the information.
The Western North leading the charts in terms of vote buying.
To be honest, I don't know the reasons for that.
Okay.
I don't know the reasons for that. And so, we are still digesting the report. Okay. Maybe after a while we may be able to, but at the end of the day, the many people feel that it's harmless. When it comes to vote buying, a lot of the recipients of expensive gifts and wads of cash think that it's harmless. After all, they're sharing it. Let me just take my share, right? But the implications are very dire.
Tell me about
and a lot of people don't think about the fact that, don't ask themselves, where's the money coming from? And when you say that, people say, well, what do I care? But you should care, because there's no free money anywhere. Wherever the person got the money from, they have to go and take it back with interest, because nobody is sitting somewhere just gifting money.
Absolutely.
And also think about the fact that this money could come from criminal sources. It could come from money from drug dealing. It could be money from money laundering. It could be money from human trafficking. It could be money from any of those things. It could be money from anything, right? So imagine that one day, in our quest to collect money from politicians, we end up selling our country to a criminal cartel, for instance, because they funded the candidates who came and shared the money, and we mindlessly took the money. We've sold ourselves. We've sold the country. So let's be careful. Besides, your vote should not be that cheap. You are part of the decision-making process. You are part of electing a leader. You are part of finding the solution to our problems. You know, that ballot that you're casting is part of finding the solution to whatever problem you think you have in the country right now. Why will you sell it? Why will you take 500 CDs or whatever, a bag of rice, and then because of that, you don't do any meaningful exercise around determining the criteria you should use for selecting a leader? Food that you will eat today and is gone tomorrow, money that you will spend and is gone. So I also, because I feel that people don't give it much thought, I think that if we keep harping on it and people begin to think about it more, they will consider, they will give some thought to actually taking money from politicians. Because I don't know, but I am sure that the politicians themselves, you know, I don't know, who are you going to find $200,000 as the research found out? Where in going to participate in primaries, and you need a minimum of over $200,000 for that exercise. Where do people find this kind of money? You know, so if you're a candidate, for instance, that must worry you. That must bother you. You know, because if you find that money, you're going to have to pay it back.
Okay.
So imagine that you elect somebody who went and took some money or even borrowed some money. Once you elect them, their focus will be what? Finding the money to take it back with interest, and then finding another money to come and share with you. In that context, your development is compromised. And then you get frustrated when the things that you elected them to do is not coming.
Okay.
You understand? So we should think of money in politics in those terms.
As a commission, what have you done really to educate people on the need? You said one thing that excites me, that your vote shouldn't be that cheap. As a commission, what have you done to spread the word?
We are working very hard, and I will encourage you and everybody listening to visit our socials and see the kind of work that we've been doing since the beginning of the year.
Okay.
In fact, we've gone beyond what we normally do, the traditional things. We are now, last week we went to Kizomba, Salsa, to do public education in the entertainment sector where we normally would not go.
Okay.
You know, we are setting up stores in the malls, for instance, because we set up stores we take our vans to markets. You know, we are doing public engagements, town hall meetings. We are doing collaborations with religious institutions, traditional authorities. We are talking to a whole bunch of people in different ways.
Okay.
We have activated our inter-party dialogue committees in the communities to solve electoral problems that happen in districts at the community level. So a lot of work is going on. And we have just released our Matters of Concern report, which is a big thing for us. It's something we do every election year.
Kathleen, I'll let you have more elaboration on that, but I want to go over the phone lines now and engage a security analyst, Addy Sani, on the back of your findings. Addy, thank you very much for your time. We understand from the NCCA reports that a lot of Ghanaians are willing to engage in electoral-related violence. How concerning is this development?
Well, I'm absolutely gobsmacked about that. I'm shocked that such a large percentage would be interested in using, violence to advance their political interests. However, on the other hand, it's a bit consistent with what some of us have spoken about for some time now. The fact that the stakes are high, the fact that we're going into an important election and there's a cacophony of issues that is going to determine whether it will be peaceful or not. Some of the issues include what happened during the last election, in which some people were killed. Nobody's been held to account. Then Ayawaso West Wagon comes in. The issue of law enforcement, the issue of the level of collaboration between the security services, and of course, collaboration between the various stakeholders. So surely it is an incontrovertible fact that the stakes are high. And this is the sordid reminder of the need for us to do more as we go into the election, so we are able to preserve the peace and security the country has enjoyed since the inception of the Fourth Republic.
Okay. Now, talking about doing more about the security status, how prepared do you think the security agencies are in a bid to prevent or avert violence clashes during these polls?
Well, there's an election security task force. I know there's been some stakeholder consultation, but I don't think it is enough. We need better commitment on the part of the political parties. There will be more boots on the ground. The police would collaborate with other security services. But I think that they should give attention to intelligence gathering so we are able to preemptively prevent some of the violent situations from happening in the first place. And critically, also, is the issue of law enforcement, because there's always a tendency of persons who perpetrate crime in the name of politics getting off the hook. So if we ensure that people are held to account, people are punished rigorously and vigorously according to the law for crimes they perpetrate, it will continue being a major issue we would have to deal with. So in my opinion, I think that issue of law enforcement is extremely paramount going into this election. So we at least serve as a reminder to the fact that we are a country that is governed by the rule of law and not a banana republic.
Now, Addy, but we all know that election violence is often driven by political influence. But how do you think the security task forces can remain neutral so that it doesn't appear that they're favoring one political party over the other?
That is the issue. You see, when a crime is perpetrated by someone from oblivion of whichever political, whichever part of the political divide the person belongs to, and you don't take action, you motivate others from the other side to also do same, hoping that you wouldn't take action. And in criminology, it's called rational choice theory. Because as human as we are, before we perpetrate crime, we are able to juxtapose the risk against the reward. Okay, so if the risk factor of getting caught outweighs the reward, would naturally be disincentivized from perpetrating the crime in the first place. However, if the reward of not getting caught, because it's business as usual, is there, then people would continuously perpetrate this crime. So I think the law enforcement agencies have a very important role to play in ensuring that people are held to account for their action. Also, there's a need for investigation. These days, I get a lot of calls, people calling me, asking me about the processes involved in obtaining a weapon. And I told them you have to write to the Ministry of Interior and justify it. Then I asked, why do you need a weapon? Then they tell me a lot of stories. Then in the end, after piecing everything together, I realized that it has a lot to do with people losing trust and confidence in the state's ability to ensure their own safety. So they are willing to, by hook or crook means, obtain weapons in a quest to defend themselves. And that I find very dangerous.
Absolutely. Now, Addy, but unfortunately, we have in the studios with us the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education. I'd want to take a reaction on some of the concerns that you've made. That is a security analyst, Addy Sani, on the back of the things that relates with security. I mean, what's your take on that, first of all?
Well, I certainly agree with him on the issue of law enforcement, because really, people must feel deterred. People must see consequences that act as a deterrent. It goes a long way. In fact, I tell people that if we do all the public education on the issue and there's no law enforcement, the impact will not be, as good as we want it to be. So I certainly agree with him on that. And that's really all I can say on that. I don't have any major disagreements with him. I think that he's right in most of the things that he's saying.
Okay. Yeah. I believe that's it for this. Addy, thank you so much for your time. Addy Sani.
And by the way,
absolutely.
Let me just use this opportunity to congratulate Madam Chairperson. These are the things we've been talking about, but they are the bigger voices. So when they talk, people would get to understand that this is an important election with high stakes and the need for us to work collaboratively to ensure that the country is peaceful and the elections is fair. Thank you.
As Adib said, are you worried about people going for guns?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that is very disturbing if that's really the trend. And we really have to walk away from that, from becoming the place where everybody has a gun. And so we must step up efforts to build trust in institutions, in law enforcement, and all institutions must demonstrate why the people should trust us. If you are executing your mandate effectively, then there'll be no need for people to have the level of mistrust that we are seeing if this report on gun request is correct.
Okay.
And it is my hope and prayer that the criteria for acquiring a weapon it's not so easy that anybody at all can get it. I hope they are background checking the people asking to make requesting, and that we are only giving weapons to people who absolutely need it and who meet a very, very, very high criteria and standard and have a true need, a unique problem before we hand out weapons to people willy-nilly. Yes.
Okay. Now, over the past few months or maybe years, one of the things that we have seen is about social media and its influence cannot be undermined in any way. Did your report in any way explore how social media can influence violence in this election?
In fact, the addressing issues of fake news, misinformation, disinformation is one of our big thematic areas for the year. So all the public education we've done this year covers these issues: money in politics, misinformation and fake news, violence and intemperate language, and then religious intolerance. So it's one of the big things that we've been talking about, because we know that it's a problem. We know that the internet is being weaponized, to drive people to act in ways that do not augur well for our society and our communities. And so it's important that people have the understanding, people are media literate enough to be able to judge, if what you're reading is sheer incitement, is set up to make your blood boil and go out there and do something, is set up to make you hate somebody, to make you, feel so bad about a certain situation that you're compelled to go out there and act. And then also to encourage people to stop sharing these things. Because the thing about misinformation is that if we are not sharing, it's not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
It's like somebody has sat somewhere and cooked an agenda, and you've become a participant in executing that agenda without even realizing, simply because you mindlessly share. So I'm urging everybody, when we get things in our inbox, on our feeds, that's, it's things that are problematic, things that you can't verify. For instance, I talked about verification earlier. Even just verification on the very low level verification, you can't verify any of it. The thing looks to you that maybe is insightful. It looks like an unnecessary attack on another person. Please, let it stop and end with you.
Okay.
Don't forward, don't share.
Now, in all of this, my personal worry is with maybe people in the rural areas. These days, everybody has access to TikTok. We know the level of disinformation or misinformation on that app. People just consume anything. They save the videos, and as you said, they mindlessly share them. Is the NCC looking at educating the people in the rural areas?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, the NCC is a community-based institution. We have offices in every single district, and our work in the communities is even sometimes much stronger than our work in the major cities centers. Because for here, unless on a day that GH1 has given me a free couple of minutes like this, otherwise I can't afford it. You understand? But elsewhere, the NCC staff are...
My producer was...
What did I say?
GH1 TV, but it's okay.
Oh, but it's the same family. At least I didn't mention some other station. Because I'm just coming from there.
I understand.
Yes.
I understand.
So on a day like this where we have this free airtime, but otherwise, truly, we are way outside my range.
Okay.
Can never afford the airtime here. But in the rural areas, the staff are resource persons. They have a weekly slot. Every week they go there and they are on radio and TV. It's a different dynamic.
Okay.
And also where they have to pay, it's not as expensive. We can afford that. So yes, there's a lot of education going on in rural areas. But there should be a lot of, we should also focus, when people talk about rural areas, first of all, we shouldn't assume that people who live far away, somehow are, yes. There are a lot of, even when you come to the concentrated urban areas in the cities, the peri-urban areas with the concentration of people, we have a lot of problems there. Huge concentration of young people who are in the city but they are outside of the city. They can see the bright lights of the city but they are in the dark. It's frustrating, and they become very vulnerable and easy prey for powerful people to use to misuse them for other purposes.
Absolutely.
So for NCC, because of the way it's set up, it's completely decentralized. I always tell people, if you don't see me on radio talking, it doesn't mean work is not going on. It's not really not about me at all. My mind is to go to these nice studios and speak this fine English, right? But the real
It
work
goes beyond that.
it happens in the communities. And when I go there, I step back because my staff in the communities, they really are the powerful people. They are trusted. They support communities in many, many different ways. Their word holds a lot of weight. And so, yes, the work in the rural areas is also going on.
We are wrapping up shortly, but what I want to know is that during your research, what were give me the top 5 issues for voters.
Right. So the
polls.
top 5, and I'm very passionate because these have been the top 5 over the years, one way or the other. So we have health, we have education, unemployment, infrastructure, roads. Health and education.
These are things electorates are on the lookout for.
Yes, these are the things that the public discourse should be focused on. When we say health, it's not just the broad health. They've outlined what about health they want addressed, and these are the things that the conversation should be, especially as a country, most of our income is spent on health and education. What else can we do? What else should be? That's what we want those seeking power to come and tell us.
Right.
What else can we do in these areas? How much more efficient can we be? How can we use the resources in a way that gives us more, for instance? Those are the conversations we want to see, especially our parliamentarians who go and represent us have. There's nowhere in the report that says that parliamentarians, should do other things in parliament, except for go and focus. Because if you look at the report, you realize that for these top 5 things, we ask what should government be doing, what should parliamentarians be doing. So if you go into the report, you see exactly what people want their MPs, their representatives to be doing when it comes to these 5 important issues that they have raised. And we really hope that they will pay attention to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been a fantastic conversation. I believe that our audience have been educated as well. I've been engaging Kathleen Addy. She is the chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education. This is still Start Today here on Star FM. We are back with more stories after this break.
I'm saying that